What are the warning signs that a unit is heading towards failure? Hey, ScouterStan. Let's talk a little bit about the warning signs that a unit is literally heading towards failure. These are warning signs that every scout leader needs to be looking for. So it doesn't matter if you're with a pack, a Scouts BSA troop, if you're with a crew, or you're with a ship. No matter where you are in scouting, you need to be looking for these signs. Mike, my dear friend Mike, he was interested in finding out more about this. So we're going to do the top 10 things to look for. These are not the only things, but these are things that there's some problem that's a little more than you might think. So definitely look at your unit and the past, and did these things happen, and what was the problem? What needed to change? That's what you have to ask yourself. So let's go right into the list. Now, this list is not like a countdown, like to the number one thing that you need to be looking for. All of them are red flags. So keep that in mind. The number one that we need to think about is to keep this in mind. It's not that it's the number one thing. And that would be skipping a meeting. That's not a good sign. When you see that red flag, there's problems. Leadership, adult leadership, usually makes that call, and that's not a good call to make. We need to be consistent for the youth so that they get into the habit of that particular night at that particular time. It's time to put your uniform on, trying to get to your meeting and get prepared of what they're going to be doing as an activity. Those are things that we want to participate in on a regular basis. And if all of a sudden you get there and the door is locked and the lights are out and the meeting hall is empty, that's a bad sign. That's a real problem, and it can be other things that we'll talk about. Number 2, missing unit leaders. That's a problem. If you have a scoutmaster that's not there, that's a problem. You need to have that scoutmaster be there on a regular basis, or their appointed assistant scoutmaster to help out. So critical to keep that in mind. Cub masters, even committees, you have to have your chair there. You have to have your backup. You have to have all of that stuff in there. If someone is missing, say for instance for whatever, it may be a vacation, it might be a family emergency, it could be anything. If they're not there, there should always be somebody taking that place. And if that's not happening, if it does happen on a regular basis, then that person's kind of got 2 jobs. So that's not good. That can actually have a cascade effect through all your adult leaders for the unit, and that can be really bad. That is a huge red flag. Red flag number 3, a sudden drop in attendance. For no reason, you get to the meeting and it's only a few scouts when you were expecting the entire unit to be there. It was devastating, I'm sure. It does happen. Sometimes your planning doesn't match up to school things. There might be something going on within your town, your area where you live. That might be going on. Might be during spring break. It might be, there's a lot of reasons to have a sudden drop. But if this drop just all of a sudden happens, there has to be a reason. Is it the meeting isn't relevant? Is it not an opportunity for leadership? But is there a problem there? Is there an element within the unit that's causing this sudden drop in attendance? That's important to know. That's a huge red flag. And with that, you also have the possibility there could be some bullying going on within the unit. So you have to look at all of those things. In fact, bullying in scouting, it used to be a huge problem. Now it's a minor thing, but it does happen. So check out the links below. that I'll have a link down there for a whole article about bullying and how to handle that within scouting. Now that's from the Adults Scouting magazine, so that is a great article. Red flag number 4, succession plan. Every unit needs a succession plan. The scoutmaster is not going to be there forever. Okay, they get transfers, they move on with their career. There's a lot of things that can happen. So scoutmasters come and go. Same is true with every critical position within every unit in scouting. That's why we have assistants, and there should always be that backup. There should always be a succession plan. Now, a lot of times when you have the cub master cross over with their youth to a troop, that's a huge gap unless that cub master has an assistant cub master that's going to take over. You have to have that succession plan. There's been wars, physical wars over the successions of kings and stuff. So we need to make sure that we don't have those issues. We need to make sure that there is somebody who's learning how to do that job and can step into that job. Maybe even tried out that job a few times. That's very important. Succession plans are part of Scouting U that you can go online and actually get trained on. You need to have that no matter where you are in scouting. So you got to have that. That's a huge red flag. If you don't have somebody that can step up in an emergency, you're going to have a problem. It's a matter of when. Red flag number 5, not recruiting. There are units out there that are enormous, and sometimes they skip the recruitment. Every unit needs to be recruiting constantly. There has to be that constant flow of new scouts getting into the unit, and older scouts, they actually achieve and move out, or move up into some of the adult management of the troop or crew or something like that. So that is very important. You gotta have that moving forward. And the only way you can do that is recruiting. Keep the recruiting coming in. That is very important. Now, before we go any further, I do want to invite you to our monthly meeting. It's on the first Sunday of each month, and it's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So you're more than welcome to join us and ask questions and just have fun. That's one of those wonderful things about that meeting. I also want to thank everybody on Patreon for their continued support of our channel. And our channel members. You can be a channel member. You hit the join button and join up. There's all kinds of badges and emojis and different things. They even get the videos exclusively for themselves, ad-free, which is an added bonus. And then, of course, if you don't want to join in and do a monthly donation, you could always do a one-time donation by hitting the thanks button. So get involved. I really do appreciate all that you do in scouting and here on the channel. Red flag number 6, not doing the summertime activity. A lot of packs do that. Believe it or not, a lot of troops will skip summer camp. Not a good idea. That is a huge red flag. Now, they might skip it because they don't have adult leaders that can get the time to actually go do the camping. That might be the issue. It might be funding. It might be money. It might be a lot of issues. But that's a super red flag. If they don't do their summertime activity, this is a huge letdown for the youth. Huge. They should do and have those opportunities to go camping, to do the summertime activities. So critical to the whole thing of scouting. That is quintessential to doing scouting, is going to summer camp, going to day camp, going places, doing things. It is so important for the youth to have that during the summer, during their downtime. Red flag number 7, making the charter organization upset. Units belong to the chartered organization. That is quintessential. Your pack, your troop, your crew, your ship, those all belong to the chartered organization. If the charter organization is upset at the unit because of something they did, they broke a thing in the church and they want the unit to replace it or do something with it, and they don't. It could be a lot of issues. There could be personality conflicts. These are huge red flags. That charter organization is under no obligation to continue with that unit that they don't want or they have problems with. That is a huge red flag. We have to make sure that our charter organization is happy. We need to make sure we do things for that charter organization. They own the unit. You have to keep that in mind. They literally own all the tents, all the equipment. That's part of the chartered organization. So if they're upset at you, they could take that away. They could take your charter. It could be the end. It's a huge red flag. You need to make sure that your charter organization representative is extremely happy. That is so important. If they have an issue, that should be the absolute paramount importance to take care of. Super important. But it's a red flag. If they're not happy, there's no reason for them to continue. That could end your unit right there. So, red flag number 8, constantly changing leadership. When it's constant, like a revolving door, every month it's different, there's no stability, and that is a huge red flag. Scouts deserve a unit with stability. They need that. They need their leaders to be there so that they can count on a Scoutmasters conference. They can count on the den leader running a meeting. There's count on these things to occur. If it's constantly changing, that instability makes the scouts very nervous. They'll be looking elsewhere to move on to another unit. So that is a huge red flag. Make sure that you have stability there. Now, I'm not talking about 25, 30 years of stability. That might be that's a long time for a unit leader. And they do exist, and it's great, and they do a great job. But they have to have that ability to move on. So that's but at a reasonable pace. So always keep that in mind. If you have that revolving door going on, that's a huge red flag. Red flag number 9, communications. Being able to talk as a parent, being able to go to somebody in the unit and talk about their concerns. Now, it's not always the committee chair. It's not always the different groups that are in the unit, but they have to have that communication. Not having that communication is a huge red flag. They feel like they're being taken advantage of. If there's not that two-way conversation and that whole thing about communicating back and forth, if that is not possible, your unit is going to go down in flames, because you got to have that two-way conversation. Now, I joke about it, but it actually has happened where we say, if you have an issue or a problem, or if you feel that your scout is not progressing the way they should, why don't you become an adult leader? That's the complaint form. That kind of communication, just something, is so important. But that actually helps them understand, hey, we have certain adult leaders. If you could jump in and take care of these 3, we could take care of those 3. So, that is the communication that needs to go on. There's a lot of different facets with that. So Keep that in mind. If you can't talk to somebody, that's a problem. If you don't know when the next camp out is coming out, you're going to have a problem. If you don't know what the next meeting, what your scout's supposed to bring, and believe me, they're teenagers. When you're dealing with a troop, they're teenagers, and they don't remember. And if you don't have any way to look it up, you're going to be calling people. And if they don't know, the communication has to be there. You've got to have good communications within the unit. Otherwise, that's a red flag. Red flag number 10. As far as the advancement, it should go on in a normal pace, at a predictable pace. If that all of a sudden just tanks and it stops, there's a problem. And that's a huge red flag. That could be something as simple as they don't have enough leaders for the meetings and for the different things that they have to do to make advancement work. They may not have an advancement team. That could be a problem too. So advancement, if advancement has been going along just fine, all of a sudden just drops, that's a huge red flag, because there's issues, there's underlying issues that are there that need to be addressed and need to be handled. These are huge, okay? And like I said, they using the adult application as the complaint form, that way there's no problems if you're the solution. That's what I always tell them. I said, look, join us, get involved, jump in, do stuff, prevent those red flags from happening. Keep the advancement in an upward climb. Those are critical things. We don't want to let the youth down. We want to make sure that they have the adventures they desire and the opportunities they deserve. That's key. And keeping that going as an adult leader is very important. We don't want to throw red flags down all the time. So that's the important part of this entire red flag warning. Keep that in mind. We do a lot for our scouts because we want them to have that. And it's very important. And I'm so grateful that you are a big part of this. That is huge. Believe me, it's huge. And I thank you so much for joining me. I want you to check out some of these great videos. And until next time, I'll see you on the trail.